Hello, and welcome to the Lillian Link podcast. Today's episode is with Alex Navarro. He and I worked together at a marketing agency not too long ago, and Alex is an incredible marketer. We talk about a lot of different things today. We talk about the importance of marketing strategy, aligning marketing with business goals, and making sure that all of the work that you're doing is connected, and a lot of other things that I hope you guys all find as interesting as I did.
Hello, Alex. Thank you so much
Hello.
for joining me. I'm so
Glad to be
excited to
here.
get to chat with you. It's been so long.
Yeah, it's been a long time since we last talked.
Yeah, certainly. Alex and I worked together at an agency that he left before me. You were our demand gen guru there. And I know you've been up to a lot. I learned so much about paid media working with you and you always had like unique, fun ideas for different ways companies could try out different types of demand gen. And that's something I always found really cool about the way you worked.
Well, thank you. Yeah, that was a
Yeah.
fun time working together.
Yeah.
And yeah, really creative campaigns. I just really enjoy working with those clients and just getting to know who they are targeting. And it not just about like the paid media campaigns or the platforms, but
Yeah.
how you can be creative with their outreach and learn
For
more about
sure.
who they're targeting.
Yeah. And I think something that you and this was the approach of the agency that we worked with too, have always had is like a lot of places, particularly paid media can be true for this, organic social, all that stuff. They like have the action for the sake of action. They're doing things because they think they should do something, where something you and I were always aligned on is like, let's think about what this should be and make sure we're targeting the right people and spending the right money in the right place to actually have like a true impact.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you weren't just checking the boxes just so that we were running an ad on Meta just to kind of spray and pray. It was, let's take a step back, let's learn about the personas, let's do the work and the strategy, and then let's do the execution and the performance tracking. So yeah, a little bit different than just going out there and putting an ad online.
So other than just like no plan, turn something on, what are some of the pitfalls people who are like first getting into that kind of demand gen fall into?
Yeah, so without the strategy, I think you're at a loss from the beginning. But then not learning from what's happening. Once it's live, what are you doing now to analyze the performance, to make sure that it's working? And then what are you going to do when it doesn't work? How are you going to pivot? And so I think that a lot of people go out there and they start a campaign, and then for whatever reason, the monitoring maybe isn't up to par, or they don't know what to do with the data that they're seeing.
Yeah.
And then they're not able to make those adjustments to improve that performance.
It's interesting. Something that is so hard for clients, especially if they've never done paid media before, is that moment where it's not working. But I always feel like it's something where you can learn so much from a campaign not working. When you're like talking to clients and working on that kind of stuff, what are some of the ways that you like educate them on the fact that this not working could be good and it's going to be okay?
It's going to be okay in the end.
Yeah.
Yeah. And we're learning from our mistakes.
Yeah.
Yeah. I feel like that just comes down to what does it mean for the business? So translating that into here's the performance metrics that you're going to see. We can take a look at the numbers 10 different ways, but what does it mean for maybe bringing in new customers, selling your service? What is the overall business impact? And then what are we going to do to make sure that that is achieved? If you're seeing something that's not performing as well as you'd like, do we continue along this path? Or do we try something new? Do we try something else?
Yeah.
And one awesome thing that's happening now with AI and with Claude and some of the agents that you can create, even free agents that you can create to monitor performance, you can gather all of that information.
Yeah.
And it could help you see these different directions that you might want to go in. Whereas, a few years ago, we would have to collect all that information and parse it out and then create a storyline of here's what we need to do next. Now we can do that. Not not saying it's going to take away from the strategy
Yeah.
or the execution, but it's gathering the intel and deciphering it and being able to transform that into an action item. So I
Yeah,
think that's
for sure.
really a really cool way that AI and specifically Claude can really help out right now.
So it sounds like Claude is the tool that you use. And something that I've been asking a lot of people about is like, what are the tools that they're using and how are they using that? Like, when you obviously, like, your expertise, you know enough to know when Claude is wrong and you know enough to go, oh, this is the insight I actually want and the input's correct. Like, what has that experience been like learning how to do that with Claude? What are some of the pitfalls and the successes that you've had there?
Yeah, so let's start with the pitfall, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah, just and I've used Chat GPT, I've used Claude. Right now, I'm on a big Claude kick, and specifically because it's been the best at actually using, the information, your brand story, even presentations, in a way that's on brand and on similar messaging that I haven't necessarily seen with other learning platforms. And so some of the pitfalls might be they're calling something a term that you don't ever use
Hmm.
or that your client doesn't use. And so really what you have to do is make sure that you always check the work afterward, but you continue to educate your platform, creating new systems of checks in place so that you're not missing things and also that you're staying on brand and in a message that's formatted that would reach your target, your persona. And I think that's also a success metric too, because
Yeah.
yeah, you're really with these learning with the agents, you're able to collect a lot of information. Whether it be create an agent for Reddit to scan and scrape Reddit for your customer sentiment analysis. That's something that you can create in minutes. I use agent.ai and it's a lot of the agents are free.
That's so interesting because
Yeah.
Reddit is one of those platforms that, like, people ask me about where social platforms are changing and where they're going. And Reddit has become so much more trusted as AI has become so much more prevalent on these other platforms. And I never even thought, like, what a brilliant choice to go, let me go do the research through this and specifically focusing on these narrow things on Reddit.
Yeah, for sure. Reddit, I think the trust is, you're learning from other humans
Yeah.
and not necessarily other companies and what they want you to hear. It's taken from a lot of the information. Some of the boards are taken directly from people who have maybe made that purchase before and they're or asking, I'm curious in the best service related to this category. Does anyone have
Hmm.
information on that? Yes, they do. Here's what we thought about it. That's why when you can scrape Reddit, you get true, accurate intelligence from people who may have already had firsthand inside knowledge on the
Yeah,
topic.
for sure. There was always a level of skepticism because Reddit has, like, always been monitored by the people using it.
Mm-hmm.
The reason this is trustworthy is because if what you're saying is BS, a bunch of people are going to pop up and be like, this is a bot, doesn't know what they're talking about. Like,
Uh-huh.
you're going to get called out fast.
Yeah. Yeah. Quick to call you out on that.
Hmm.
Yeah. I mean, just with AI and every company should be doing is there are free agents that can scrape the internet for you and do a competitive analysis. So that's another tool that I really like
That's
with
cool.
AI that's really been a good way to check on different competitive offers, their
Yeah.
messaging, scrape the internet for different news, new hires, the direction they're
Yeah.
going in as you lead into a new season.
Yeah.
So a lot of real fun ways to use AI.
Are you building that in Claude yourself, or are you asking Claude to do that? Or do you have tools that you really like that are doing that?
No, those ones are just out of the box agents that you
Okay.
can sign up for a free account and then you can select whichever agent you want to use.
Okay.
And then you can set up alerts that are like, on a regular basis,
Nice.
send me an email on XYZ competitor and what they're doing.
Yeah.
Or like that sentiment analysis. We just heard that a competitor was in the news for maybe charging a new fee. How has that been
Yeah.
received as I approach potentially doing a fee similar?
That's so smart.
So yeah. And that's just right out of the box in a lot of these cases.
Yeah, that's so smart. I remember however many years ago teaching my team that when I was this junior marketer that you could set up Google alerts. And it was like I told them magic was possible. And like I feel like this is just the next evolution of that, of like just to an alert for what the entire internet is saying.
Uh-huh. And I still have those Google alerts. They just pop up randomly in my Gmail account.
Yeah.
And although I haven't done a new alert in, I don't know, a few years, but I still get some of the, like our old CEO information and news and notes about different companies that I worked for or worked with. So
that's fun. It's always fun to be reminded of that something exists just by like getting a random alert that you set up forever ago.
Mm-hmm.
For a long time, I was getting wood fire grill alerts and pellet grills because I worked at a wood fire grill company. So just you learn weird things about weird places in marketing, particularly B2B.
It just follows you around for the internet forever.
Yeah. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Just the places I follow on Facebook are so wild. So many hearing health things, so many girl things, so many like randoms. I worked in for a company that sold equipment into sterile processing for surgeries. And I do try to unfollow some of those because you don't need to see that all the time and be reminded of that. But past lives always coming around, keeping an eye on.
Yeah, it happens a lot on LinkedIn too. Like the old clients that maybe you worked with, they tend to pop up in random news stories, and you kind of get to reflect a little bit back in the past.
Yeah.
But also kind of fun to hear from them.
Yeah. So somebody gets a new job and you're like, oh my gosh, you were still there? That's crazy.
Yeah, absolutely.
But yeah, super fun. So one of the things that I think we talked about before this, and I think in general is very similar to your approach, is aligning what marketing is doing with what the business is doing. So like I always tell clients, should I be posting on social media? Marketing favorite answer, it depends. And what it depends on is, let's go all the way back here to what's your business goal. Then what does your marketing goal need to be to achieve your business goal? Then it's your audience. Then it's what you're saying. Then it's where you're saying it. And the whole communication needs to happen this way and needs to continue to happen. But I know you were telling me about kind of how things have gone in some of your more recent experiences with that.
Yeah, and that's really interesting. Yeah, marketing has changed from a marketing strategy approach to a business strategy approach. What is it going to do for your business? And how can marketing impact the direction of revenue? And so with that, where do you want to invest your marketing efforts? Who are you targeting, and what does that business outcome look like that you hope to achieve? But then you put some functions around that, and you build in KPIs and certain things that you need to monitor, like the response rate for a direct mail piece and what that equals for every direct mail piece that you send out. How many of those will produce a phone call or a click online? And then what's the conversion rate mean? So you can start to build in certain things and say, well, for every conversion, that means $10 in revenue. So can you work backwards at that point? Yeah. If I need $100 in revenue, that means that I need X number of pieces sent because of historic response rates. And then how can you adjust that conversation with clients and say, well, there's these competitive offers in market. How is that going to impact the rate, your response rate? How is that going to impact the revenue side and what we hope to achieve there? What will we need to increase? How are we going to make transitions and shifts so that we really make a difference for the business side and not just spend money to spend money, We're
Mm-hmm.
we're investing in our markets. We're investing in reaching our customers
Mm-hmm.
because we anticipate and forecast certain results. And I think
Yeah.
shaping that conversation, it turns the marketing into more of a strategic direction for the whole business.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I've always said one of my favorite parts of marketing is the fact that it is this like center point of like when it's working really well, it's so connected to all the other parts of the organization. And B2B, you're always working with sales, but you're also working with product, you're working with operations, you're working with with senior leaders. You talked about you're breaking into a new market. Okay, marketing needs to know about that in advance. We need to decide, okay, this is what worked last time in this region, doing some of the research you talked about with the AI scraping, and then being like, okay, this is what I want to run. This is how I expect that to have a return. Here's how we know if it's winning. Here's when we know it's failing. So we're going to pull it back and just can kind of be that connection point. Like that's one of the things I love about marketing is if you're doing it well, you know what's going on everywhere in the business and everything that's happening.
Yeah, I know we worked on a client together in the, and they're breaking into the Texas market,
Mm-hmm.
and we had to learn everything there was to know about what was going on, what
Mm-hmm.
nonprofit fun runs are in
Yeah.
the market that we
Mm-hmm.
could position ourselves as a part of the community
Yeah.
as we introduce ourselves into this new market. What are we hearing from the operations team?
Yeah.
What are we hearing from sales? Who
Mm-hmm.
else is in the market from a competitor side? And then be in lockstep with the operations side. Because
Mm-hmm.
if we go in and we do this huge product launch
Yeah.
and they're not able to actually service the market yet,
Yeah.
that could be a potential loss in your investment and momentum. And
Hmm.
so how can you get in lockstep with all these different teams so that your marketing is better planned?
And it can break trust too, which is like the hardest thing to build with a client and hardest thing to build with a customer. If you run a campaign and you're like, we can ship this in 24 hours, and you put that out there as a guarantee, and then it turns out, well, it was a well supplies last, and we didn't expect the campaign to go as well as it did. So nobody's going to be getting, like 10% of the people who made a purchase are getting the product in that time. Like that burns all those customers forever.
Mm-hmm. And it might look
And
good from a short-term
mm-hmm,
perspective, saying, well, look at this campaign. We sold out
mm-hmm,
in an hour, but how many of those
mm-hmm,
clients or customers did you lose in the long term that you could have gained?
mm-hmm. Yeah. And I think building trust, building a company, building something for the long term. It's something that I see a lot of companies these days are, and there's particular areas where this is more true and less true. They're building something to sell, or they're building it to like have profit this quarter. I see when you need investors and you need capital and all that stuff. But the businesses that I see having long-term success are the ones who are going, I want to establish a brand that's going to be valuable and impactful for people all the time. For the long term, I want to be trusted even when a client comes to me and says, I want a customer comes to you and says, I need this now. And you go, I'm not going to be able to deliver that, but come to me next time and I'll be able to promise you that I can make this, or we can solve this problem another way. Like that's the long-term growth and the long-term trust that you need to build with clients and customers.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and if you're able to be patient, you can start to
Mm-hmm.
build that. I think a lot of brands, maybe they had a poor quarter the previous quarter, that maybe they're behind in their revenue goals for the year, and they start to make these very quick decisions
Yeah.
that are not always the best long term, like in uh, building that trust with your customers and that
Yeah.
brand.
Yeah, and I think that's always the hard thing with marketing, right? Like everybody wants revenue tomorrow, and I always am talking to clients. I'm like, let's do something that's going to have an impact tomorrow, but also I want to do something that's going to make it so that 6 months from now you're in a better position, and a year from now you're in an even better position, and 5 years from now you're just floating because you got all this good stuff coming from your marketing. Because marketing's always a long term play.
And sometimes it's a mix, like you were saying.
Yeah.
So, hey, look, what can we do now? here are the channels that we recommend that can make an immediate impact, but not necessarily for the long term. While that is running, let's think through the alternate path, this other swim lane that will provide a bigger opportunity long term. But you have to have more patience.
For sure. Yeah, I think the patience is a hard one with clients. And the trust and brand is something that Bob and I talked about a lot on the episode that I had with him. And I think that's something that when the three of us work together on projects, we talked about a lot. And I think that's something that, particularly when we're talking about paid media, can be undervalued. Like people talk about the idea of, oh my gosh, vanity metrics. I think there are certainly, like when you're talking about Google display ads, having 1 billion impressions, but 5 clicks is a problem, not a success. But I also think there's value. This many people saw your brand for potentially the first time, potentially the fourth time. And the next time they see your brand, they're going to have a little bit more trust. And every impression is valuable.
Yeah, no, I certainly think that is true. I think it depends on the goal for that channel.
Absolutely.
And even with Google, yes, there are some campaigns that are click driven for your KPIs.
Yeah.
And then there's other ways to get your brand out there and be top of mind. It's similar to working on a billboard ad versus working on a display ad, and making sure that you are top of mind. You're ever present when you're driving by in your commute. You see the brand name. You're reminded of what they do, who they are, so that when you're ready to make a purchase, that company is there in your mind. And so that's more of the brand awareness as a goal, opposed to a media conversion, which would be your clicks to the website and getting them into the funnel there and conversion.
Yeah, no, for sure. And I think as you're talking about this, I'm fully going back to that campaign that we ran for that client when they were breaking into that new space. The ways partnerships, like with associations and publications and events and all that stuff, was always something that we worked on really closely together about, like figuring out who we can get in front of and how, and what those sort of unique opportunities, especially as particularly organic, but just in general, digital is getting so noisy right now. That finding other spaces, I'm seeing more and more value in, of like going back to those basics. But I'm curious, when you're talking to clients these days, what are some of the ways that you're thinking about those associations and events and publications as a channel?
Yeah, I think it comes down to, does it fit in your marketing budget? And then if so, then how are you going to blend in these associations with what you're already doing, even if it is, if digital is overwhelming right now and you want to get into your events, your community events, your association events and sponsorships, how can you kind of weave that into what you're doing as an added value? And so in a lot of ways, we'll analyze whether or not the event is the right fit for who you're trying to target. So it could be that an event is within your industry, but none of your buyers are there. So what is the purpose of being at this event? And it could still have value in thought leadership, brand building, just having a presence within this industry or association, but just making sure that you understand what you intend to accomplish at the event. So is it people stopping by your booth? And then if your budget only allows you to do a 10 by 10 booth in a corner somewhere, we looked at this together. So we would say, where's the entry door? Are we going to need a decal on the floor that says stop by booth way over here in the corner? Do we also sponsor a live event or a demo that brings people in the area if it's close by, like a concession stand? How can we get people to that stand? Maybe it's, offering them a free, I don't know, a hot dog or something at an industry event. And then are there other ways that we could do, whether it be paid or through some sort of an application to speak at the event? I think speaking at the event is much better long term for you than just holding a booth and waiting for someone to stop by. So really making sure that you understand that this event is going to cost 10% of your marketing budget for the year.
Yeah.
And here's what we want to accomplish and why
Yeah.
is really like that whole view of how you can really
Yes.
pitch that association.
And I want to come back to the marketing budget thing, but I want to dig a little bit more into and kind of back up to what you were talking about with, is your buyer there? I think that's such an important question with any type of marketing. And it's the reason why doing something like foundational marketing, where you're figuring out your personas, you're figuring out your messaging, you're making sure all of that aligns with the business goals and where you're going there, is so critical. It's the reason why it's called foundational marketing, because if your foundation sucks, your output's going to suck. Like there's nothing I can do I want to figure out where the problems here are now, because if I start spending a bunch of money over here and we go, well, this is an industry event, we should be spending money there. And then we spend 10% of our marketing budget and don't see any sort of return and don't get any quality leads and don't have any business convert from that. What were we doing? And the answer is maybe the problem's back here.
Not understanding who that true persona or that segment of the market is that you want to capture.
Yeah.
And so setting that foundation is so important, and really supporting yourself. I mean, you talk about events, what we were able to build out is a support system for events as well. It's not just about showing up. It's what are you doing beforehand? What are you doing during? And what are you doing afterward? It's not just sending a few salespeople to a show and handing out business cards. It's much more than that. That's what's needed now.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I think, that holistic view of like where are all the different ways we're going to hit these people, and then sometimes, and I know, again, that same client, take the time and talk to the person at the association who's in that sales position of trying to sell more of the booth and all this other stuff, and find out all the other ways you can have value adds and even a relationship for the whole year. Because if you find out this is where not just the companies I want to work with, but the decision makers on my product are spending their time with this association, and this is where they have trust, that absolutely can be something that you go to the event and you really double down and you do that there. But if you can be hitting them even as infrequently as once a quarter, that really softens that area up to make each dollar of that investment so much more valuable.
100%. And I think that a lot of the clients never take full advantage of all the benefits that go with that sponsorship or that part of that association and membership. You see it a lot with where we're a member of a chamber of commerce. Okay, so that's great. You get your name on their website, but you also get all of these added benefits depending on the chamber, and that are just forgotten about or not known about. So or unknown. So I think that if you're going to invest in something, you make sure that you're using every last ounce of whatever benefits are available to you. So I think that's something that's maybe overlooked.
Yeah. And I think that fits well with the other thing I want to talk about, which is marketing budget and like thinking about where your dollar is going to be the most impactful. How do you back up and, like you were talking about before, really align those business goals and set expectations for what is the success criteria, all of that stuff. How have you found like managing and creating those marketing budgets has been helpful, difficult? Where are the pitfalls? Where are the opportunities to really thrive as a marketing department?
Yeah, I think you want to be diverse in how you're spending your marketing budget, but you also want to take a look at the outside factors that go into it. So if you're a company that is in multiple markets, I think a strong way to go about looking at your budget is looking market by market and saying, okay, well, if I know that there is a very strong offer in one market, we have to be more aggressive in our ad spend here. There's a competitor in market A, but not in market B, then maybe we give a little bit more love, some more of the market investment, some more of your time and effort in the first market that has much more competition than the other market that maybe you could spend a little bit less and make the same or similar impact. So making those adjustments and then seeing, well, this market maybe has more of my ideal customer profile, my persona. I want to make sure that this is well supported in both our effort and our investment. And also, what does that mean if you have maybe an older demographic versus a younger demographic? How are you going to spend your money differently in those markets based on the varying segmentation? So I think really taking a step back, understanding market by market, different personas, how they're segmented in each of your areas, and then come up with channels that best reach those segments.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then once that's built out, then you also have to build in how are you going to manage and monitor the investment. And when things go wrong or performance maybe is lacking in a certain area, how can you make those shifts? How can you see it quickly and adapt to it?
I think that's one of the hardest conversations to have with a client is, hey, this is not working. Like this did not do what we expected it to do. And if every single time you or I set out and ran a marketing campaign, we were 100% accurate, I think we'd be a lot more wealthy than we are today. And we'd if I could tell you exactly what your investment is going to get back with 100% accuracy, I'd be sitting pretty. But there's always the space needs to be left for, here's what it did last time. Here's what I think it's going to do based on everything I know, all this research we did, everything I know about the competitors in the space, everything I know about all of this. This is my very best guess, and my best guess is good. And there's still margin for error. So how do you manage those expectations with leaders, with your team members for what we're looking for? How does that room for experimentation and potential failure, how do you kind of manage that?
I think it comes down to, just how well you're able to communicate what's happening and then take it as an experiment. And I think a lot of times people see it as black and white, but it's always a shifting experiment that we're always A/B testing things and learning. So yeah, and it could change throughout the year based on seasonality. There are a lot of other factors that kind of go into performance. And being able to look at the performance and be able to shift gears and test some more. So yes, it didn't work out this way like we maybe anticipated. Here's what we're going to do now to try and here are the adjustments, the action items that we're going to take to see if it moves in the direction we want.
Yeah.
And if not, we're going to try again. And so just having that dialogue, that understanding that we're always testing and optimizing and all the other marketing words, that it's just going to be an ever shifting environment, I think is important. And then going back to AI and that use, from the beginning, you can start to create forecasting models based on anything from, based on this industry, we can anticipate an average cost per click on an ad of X dollar amount. And to get to our revenue goal, we would need this number of clicks based on our average conversion rate of our form completions on our website. So we need this many clicks. And then to produce this many clicks, our average cost per click would equal this. So now we can work our way backwards and say, we're going to need X dollar amount to get the amount of clicks that we need for the amount of form completions on our website that equal based on our sales close rate. So really interesting. Another way to use AI and come up with some forecasting models. Could be based on cost per click based on your industry. It could be the success rate for an average ad on Instagram and kind of learning from that, being able to have somewhat of a dialogue beforehand, somewhat of a dialogue during, and then always shifting to improve.
Yeah, no, for sure. And I think there's so much in what you just said that I think is really important. And I think the AI stuff is this is such an important piece of the puzzle that AI can help with. Because I mean, I'm sure this has been true throughout your career. It's certainly been the loudest thing during mine when we're talking about digital, of like the idea of big data. And there's just so much information out there, and AI being this incredibly powerful tool of like sorting through that, from like you were talking about with the scrape the whole internet and get some insights from everything that's out there, but also looking at your own analytics of like, okay, what is the leading indicator that this campaign is going well or going poorly? Like, if we're getting these kind of clicks, what is that leading to? I always get frustrated when people are like, well, then you don't need these people anymore. And it's like, no, you still need someone who's an expert in it to understand that, but they can be faster and better and more powerful because of it. And you can figure out faster what campaigns are working and where you're going to see the real ROI. What are some of the things that you're thinking about in terms of that, using data to make those decisions? Yeah.
Yeah, I think that what would take us a week or more to analyze spreadsheets could easily be analyzed in just a few minutes using AI. And so with that, it makes we're able to use that time that we saved in other ways and make the strategy stronger. It's not going to replace the strategy. It's going to make that strategy even more effective because you can look at it in so many different angles now quickly. And I think that's the biggest differentiator that we're seeing now, is being able to sort through all of the complex data that's available to us and be able to impact our strategy and make it stronger.
Yeah, I think that's that impacting the strategy. I know I keep going back to this so many times, but like that is why having a clear, clean understanding of like, what's your goal? Like, what are we actually trying to achieve with this campaign? And that's something I see people do all the time with their marketing in general. Of like, they just go, well, we're posting on social media because we're supposed to post on social media. We're running a Google campaign because we think that's the best way. Google gave me $500 for free and that went fine. So now I'm spending $500 a month. Like, what are some of the ways that when you're creating those goals and you have your audience, you know what's going on, you're pretty sure this campaign is the one you want to run for XYZ reason, you've done all this research. And obviously it's going to depend on the goal, right? But like, what are some of the goals and some of the ways that you're setting, here's what we're trying to achieve for this campaign, and then evaluating the success at earlier points than the end?
I think we talked about it a lot with the clients we worked on together. And it wasn't just one. It was never just one goal. It was always, okay, let's look at this, look at each of our personas, and then look at how we're reaching them at the different buyer journey stages. From the earliest awareness, maybe they don't know anything about what you do, what you're selling, to, oh, well, I'm in the consideration phase. I'm actively shopping, perhaps. I don't necessarily know that you're the right brand for me, but I'm actively pursuing. And then there's a conversion phase. So how can we get more of those people who are looking online or shopping and have shown intent to actually convert and choose your brand over your competitor? And so I think it really comes down to reaching those multiple goals and being able to have a strategy in place that hits every stage of that journey for your customers.
Getting back to the goals that you were talking about, I think you mentioned like awareness, consideration, selection, like that's such a classic marketing structure, and everybody's got their own little take that's a slightly different name. But that's what I always go with when I'm like educating clients on it. When you're talking to clients, how do you talk to them about the balance of everybody wants to run the consideration, the selection campaign? Everybody wants to do this person is ready to buy a product and we want to be in front of them when they're buying the product and we want to win here. But there needs to be that like whole pipeline thought process and that whole pipeline work. How do you talk about that with clients?
I think it's a matter of how well your brand is already developed. Where is the area most in need? And then it gets down to the marketing budget as well. So if your core goal is that final decision making, what are the channels that we could use to help improve that? Make sure you check that. But also, don't remove everything else. Maybe we shift more of the budget towards the conversion phase and less around the awareness, but we still keep it because we know that that's important. And then a couple other things too to consider: what happens after they're a customer. Do we continue to reach this customer? Are they happy? Could they be an advocate for you? Could they refer someone else as a customer? And so once that conversion is made, once your order is sold, what happens afterward? So it's more of a cycle than just a linear path.
Yeah. I think you touched on something that, again, I think especially in the age of AI is so critical right now, which is that idea of referrals. And I talk to clients all the time who are like, where do your best customers come from now? And 90% of the time they're like, well, they're referrals. It's people who love us. Go tell people about that. Let's find more ways to build that trust. Do we do testimonials with that person? Do we do an incentive program? Like, what are some of the ways that you've found to strategically develop that channel of referrals in, like, through campaigns, through outreach, through sales enablement? Like, what are you seeing and finding that helps with that area specifically?
Yeah, I think that's an area that you can certainly be creative with as well. So yeah, your current customers, past customers, what is the messaging that you go toward each of those with to help with referrals? Maybe it's, yes, reaching out to the people who have provided a testimonial, are very happy with you, prioritizing those customers to get more happy customers. Like an apartment complex, a property manager in an apartment complex wants to join a referral program where they get a certain incentive for every new tenant that subscribes to what you're selling. Or it could even be a member of your tech team. We talked about that client. Maybe it's a QR code that is attached as a magnet on a truck. So when they're out servicing a customer, additional customers, neighbors could see that and share the news as well. So I think the referral is very important. It's also usually a channel that is very affordable from a cost per acquisition. From that side, even if you're offering, $50 for the customer and $50 for the new referring customer, that's still $100, where you could be spending $100 in a different channel without that sale. So I think it's definitely a channel that should be used more frequently.
Yeah. And I think retention too, you've sort of touched on, of like, how much does it cost you to get a new customer versus how much does it cost you to keep the customers you have? And that's something that so often I find marketing is excluded from that conversation, because people think of marketing as generating new business, which absolutely is a really important part of what we do. But I also want you spending money here and retaining that business, because that's going to be the best way it's going to be lower effort, and and you probably don't need to run paid ads as much as you need to just like make sure that those customers continue to feel supported without feeling inundated.
Yeah. And I think that the cost of setting up a referral program is well worth it. And a lot of the platforms now have the ability to test and make adjustments on the fly, or, based on seasonality. Let's just say that we know that most of our business comes in the fall. Maybe they're a ski shop and they handle most of their business in the winter time. So let's flex our referral program during the time when we really need to get the business, because we know in the summer times those months are going to be slower. So let's put more of an incentive in these few weeks of the year where we have the most opportunity for business.
Yeah. And I think that's something too that's so interesting, that seasonality of different industries and different stuff that they're doing. And I was just talking to somebody yesterday about how there are certain businesses, like 90% of their purchases, and that's obviously exaggeration, happen around Christmas. And so they're planning their holiday season now, and they're like getting ready for the holidays now. And they're going to spend the next 4 months working hard on that campaign. And then when it's actually running in that busy season, is when they're actually going, I did it. And it's just sort of like running and doing all the stuff that they expected, obviously monitoring it for performance and all that stuff. But it's something that I find so interesting about marketing that people don't necessarily think about is like they go, oh, I want to run a holiday campaign, and it occurs to them in November. And it's like, there's only so much I can do for you now. Next time, let's plan your holiday campaign starting in July.
Yeah, especially when you want to bring in anything related to print.
Yeah, for
or
sure.
larger media buys that require more of a runway.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and I mean, it happens in so many different industries. It's not just the holidays, but you start thinking of Black Friday in the summer.
Yeah.
And it starts running right after Halloween, it seems. Back to school season, those campaigns. And so many times we'd see brands that are so reactionary like that, and they'll come up with an idea just because they think they need it. But we're able to step back and put together a longer term calendar view and a timeline throughout the year. And that approach, we've seen much more success with clients.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's the holistic step back. Like I'm going to be tied to certain tactics if we're only thinking about this a week before. And it's not going to be as good, and it's not going to be strategic in all the ways we've talked about that being really important. I know we're getting close to time here, but I just want to talk a little bit about LinkedIn is obviously a space I spend a lot of my time thinking about and living in. And particularly when it comes to paid media, what are some of the things that you've seen around LinkedIn, running ads there? Where's success? Where's failure? What are people doing there?
Yeah, I think it's changed quite a bit with just having your goal be creating demand and shifting from that to being more segmented, more targeted. I think that approach is the direction that I've seen the most success with. Even if it's a smaller group of people, it's more of the customers that you actually want, more of the eyeballs that you actually want that could make an impact on your business. So I think that using the targeting criteria that's in place with LinkedIn is important, but also bringing in your own data, your own lists, and then being able to sort of teach LinkedIn who your ideal person is to present that ad to.
What kind of data and how are you bringing data into LinkedIn in order to better target your audience?
Yeah, I think that one is making sure that your platforms are connected. So I mean, we use HubSpot quite a bit with our clients, and now there's ways that you can automate this where it's attached. Maybe you integrate your HubSpot with your website, your blog, and then being able to share that information, who is visiting with LinkedIn, and create automatic lists that flow from let's say they filled out a form on your website, bring in those email addresses, putting them into an active list where that list is shared with LinkedIn so they can be retargeted. But also sharing that information, maybe it's website traffic or other lists that you have internally with LinkedIn, so they know what type of person that you're looking for things like lookalike audiences and predictive audiences and things like that.
Yeah,
really being able to train LinkedIn in who is your best customer profile through the data that you already have or that you're collecting.
So there's two things I want to touch on. One, that's so important because we talked a little bit about Reddit being trusted. LinkedIn is by far the most trusted social media network. Like if you're looking at social media and you want trust, LinkedIn is that one. Now, the kind of information that people are looking for on LinkedIn is part of the reason why that changes. Like people are in that business mindset. They're thinking about things in that way. They're more, in my experience, more open to getting information from a business because they expect to see businesses having conversations there. I want to talk about budget specifically around LinkedIn.
No, yeah. I mean, LinkedIn is definitely the most trusted from a B2B side perspective. And I think it's always kind of changing for the better with that. And just being able to report on some of the demographics of who that ad was shared with you can quickly find that you're reaching the right person or you're really not. If you're trying to sell tennis shoes and it's going out to someone that has no idea or not aware of that they need tennis shoes, or
Yeah.
you're selling a software product to a bunch of nurses, you can quickly identify that's the industry they're in. And then you could use the exclusion tools to exclude that demographic later so you don't waste your marketing budget.
Yeah. And I think that budget in particular, LinkedIn is expensive. Like if you're just comparing impressions and potentially even clicks to like Google or Meta or whatever, LinkedIn is going to be expensive. But the kind of targeting you can do is really different, which is why it ends up being so powerful for B2B. So when you're evaluating like, hey, are we spending too much money? Are we spending not enough money? Should we be doing more? Like, what are some of the things that you're looking at on LinkedIn to be like, is this a fit for this client in this campaign?
Yeah, and there are certainly minimums that you would need to spend and reach. But I think that having a diverse portfolio of channels is important. And then just understanding that who you're trying to reach is on LinkedIn for this client. And so we want to make sure that we have a presence there. And we know that our competitors are also on here. So to be competitive in the market, these are certain things that we really just need. That if you do have the budget, maybe more of it goes toward LinkedIn and fewer of it goes to like Meta's platform or Google. And then understanding that, okay, this is the right channel and it's producing new customers versus we're spending in a different platform and it's not producing any customers or awareness.
Yeah.
And being able to have an honest conversation, even if it isn't with LinkedIn, like this is producing the outcome that we want and it's on this channel. And here is, if we increase the budget, is it going to also increase the number of customers? Or, at some point, even if you're on Google and you're not capping on a daily basis. So you're not actually even spending your whole budget. So if you were to increase your budget, it doesn't matter because you wouldn't reach it as the budget is now. So those are also things to consider when you're talking budget allocation.
Yeah. Well, we could keep talking all day long, but I so appreciate all of your insights and I really appreciate you taking the time. Who should be chatting with you today so you can fix all their marketing?
Mostly campaign strategy and then building out that strategy and being able to execute on it. So campaign, a lot of what we talked about now. How do you include AI into your business and your marketing? And that your marketing department, how is it included in the tools you're already using to use them just a little bit better? So certainly can reach out. I'm on LinkedIn, but I'm also you can reach me at meetalexnavarro.com.
Nice.
I have a form on that page so you can contact me, and my email address is on that website as well.
Yeah, and I'll put that in the episode description, so if people want to just go click there, they can. But yeah, thank you so much, Alex, for coming on. I really, really appreciate it, and I'm sure everyone's going to love all your cool insights, and thanks for catching up with me.
Thanks, it was fun.